Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways to use jackfruit in Asian style vegan recipes. So if you guys are interested, just keep on watching. First up, we have our jackfruit lumpia. Now feel free to screenshot any of these ingredient images that you may see. I'm going to preheat my skillet pan onto medium-high, add about a tablespoon of grapeseed oil, and then add my 1 can of unripened jackfruit. I like to mix it around in the pan, and as I'm mixing it around, kind of push down onto the jackfruit with my wooden spatula until the texture begins to break down. As you can see, the wooden spoon is kind of giving me a hard time, so I'm going to switch and then use my metal fork. Now this kind of tends to do a better job than the wooden spatula, so I recommend this. Try not to scratch your pan. And the texture we're going for is when all the liquid dries up, we kind of want it to resemble like shredded chicken. So this is kind of what we want. Now as soon as you find this texture, turn off your heat and then remove it from the pan into a bowl. And then what I did is I put this in the refrigerator while I was preparing the rest of the ingredients so that it could cool down and be nice and easy to work with later on. Up next, we're gonna chop up our cabbage. Now this doesn't have to be cut beautiful or anything because this is going into our food processor. So I'm just taking like pretty big chunks and just adding it to the blender to make it kind of easy to chop up. Nothing too perfect, so don't worry. And then we're gonna pulse it until the texture is nice and small. We don't want it to be like a soup, so this is about the texture that you want from your cabbage. Up next, we're just gonna roughly chop up our carrots, add that into the processor with the garlic, and then I'm gonna add in my ginger as well. Give that a good pulse. And then up next, I'm going to add this into the bowl with cabbage. Next up, I'm adding the onion to the processor, giving that a good chop. Then adding that to the rest of the ingredients in the bowl. Then I'm going to give this a good stir. Now here's where I add the jackfruit that we had from earlier. And I'm going to mix this into the rest of the vegetables as well. And then here's where I add in 2 tablespoons of vegetarian stir-fry sauce, a tablespoon of soy sauce, and then half a tablespoon of the hoisin sauce. Now I also added half a tablespoon of sesame oil here as well. Then I'm mixing it up, and I did taste it to see if I liked it, and then I decided I would add another tablespoon of vegetarian sauce, the hoisin sauce, and then I'm mixing that up as well. Now next is where I added my dash of black pepper. You can add as much as you'd like. Then I mix that around as well. Feel free to taste it, it's not meat, so it won't hurt you at all. I felt like I could use 1 more tablespoon of the vegetarian stir-fry sauce, so I'm just mixing that around. And this is pretty much the finished product of what we're looking for. So if you want to use less vegetables, you always can. I tend to really like my lumpia with like as much as I could put in. Now to my wrapper, I'm just taking 2 tablespoons of the filling. And how I like to do it is take the bottom and fold it up, right side over, left over, and then tightly tuck it and roll. Then I'm just going to take water to seal it. And then I'll show you one more time how I do it. So I'm taking 2 tablespoons of the filling, taking the bottom and folding it up, right side over, left over, tightly tuck it, and then roll. Then adding some water to the top to seal it, and there you have it. So in your favorite deep frying pan, add in your grapeseed oil. You can add as much or as little as you'd like. I don't really like to fry my food to where they're totally submerged, so I kind of like to do it where I flip it halfway over. So we're just gonna add these in. Now the temperature of the oil should be somewhere between 375 and 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I tend to go by the way the oil is bubbling up. And you want your lumpia to be a golden brown color like this. And if you want it a little bit more crispy, as I did, I left it in just a little bit longer until they turned out like this. It was a little bit darker than I expected, but hey, it's just a little crunchier. So that's good. So I'm just removing them from the hot oil onto a napkin-lined plate. And you do want to be careful because these are really, really hot, as I'm sure you already know. But once they've cooled down, they're ready to enjoy, and they are delicious. Up next, we have our jackfruit sushi roll. Don't forget to screenshot this. So remember that jackfruit that we made earlier? This was made the same exact way. And to this, I'm adding 3 tablespoons of vegan mayo. And then also to this, I'm going to be adding in some pickled ginger juice. Sounds strange, but trust me on this, guys. I'm adding about a teaspoon's worth into my jackfruit. And then after that, I'm going to be adding 1 tablespoon of sriracha. Now this all is done to taste, so add a little bit more, add a little bit less. It all depends on how you like it. Just keep on stirring that till it's nice and combined. I thought it could use just a little bit more ginger juice and just another dash of sriracha. Then just give that a nice good stir until it's all nice and combined. Up next, we're going to be making our sushi rice. So add 1 tablespoon of rice vinegar to your rice and then add half a tablespoon of organic cane sugar. So I'm just mixing this all around until every piece of the rice seems to be coated. And after this, I'm just going to start preparing what's going to go inside of my sushi. So today we're keeping it simple. I'm just going to be doing cucumber and avocado. So I'm just peeling this side of the cucumber. I know I'm not using the whole thing, so I didn't peel the whole thing. And pardon my knife skills, y'all. Kids, do not try this at home. I'm just going to be cutting the cucumber into long and thin strips, just like this. And watch your fingers, guys. Don't do as I did. And then this is how I cut an avocado. I just push my knife in, go around the seed. Then I'm going to cut little strips inside of my avocado just like this. Then I'm going to use a spoon to scrape it all out, just like this. Now on to the fun part. Take your rolling bamboo mat and place a clear plastic wrap on top. Take the shiny part of your seaweed and place it face down. Next, we're going to be adding in that rice that we made earlier. So take about half and spread it thinly across, as thin as possible without showing through to the other side. There is no particular way to do this. I mean, it doesn't have to be clean. It's going to be rolled up anyways. But you do want to make it nice and flat so that you have a smooth surface to place your ingredients on. So onto that, I'm going to be adding in my first row of jackfruit. So we're just going to take this and make a semi-thin line going all the way across. It really doesn't matter. You can add as much or as little as you want. This is kind of about the average size that I like to do it. Then I'm going to take the cucumber and place it on the front, and then take avocado and place it facing the back. I do like to take the mushy ingredients and put that towards me. And oops, you can see kind of made a mistake, but who cares? Just gonna put that back in, tuck it, take the mat and roll it nice and tight, and then take the cling wrap from the inside so that it doesn't get rolled all the way up in there. And then we're gonna roll that all the way out, and to give it that perfect circle shape, we're just gonna twist it around the mat just like this. And ta-da! There we have our first roll, just like that. Now up next, we're going to make an inverted sushi where we have the rice side facing outwards. So we're going to take our rice and put that on top of our seaweed and spread it around as much as we can. And I'm using the rest of this rice and just putting a nice thin layer all the way around just like this. So up next, we're just going to add some sesame seeds on top, add a plastic wrap onto the rice, and then we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do this backwards compared to the last time we did it. So I'm just going to take the plastic wrap off of the seaweed, and then now is where we're going to place the jackfruit onto the seaweed side of it. So this is how we make an inverted sushi. So you're going to make a row just like this, doing it the same as before, adding cucumber in the front, and then the avocado in the back. Then we're going to roll it nice and tightly. So after making sure this is nice and tight, we're just going to unroll it and put it onto a cutting board. And I'm going to open the layer of the plastic wrap just because I want to put a layer of avocado on the top. So I'm going to place this thinly sliced avocado onto the top, trying to make it look as nice as possible. But no worries, we're just going to wrap it and roll it once more. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So once again, I'm taking my plastic wrap, placing it over, and then we're going to roll it in the bamboo mat one more time. And then after that's nice and tight, we're going to take it out, and with a damp cutting knife, just going to make slices about 1 inch apart. Once again, guys, sorry about my knife skills. And now that cutting's out the way, we're gonna just do the easiest part, which is just taking the plastic wrap from the sushi roll and placing it onto a plate. Just like that. And now the second roll that we're gonna be doing is actually a little bit easier because we don't have to worry about anything else. Just taking the slices about 1 inch apart, all the way down, just like this. I'm using a wet knife, so keep that in mind. Just placing them onto a plate after taking the plastic wrap off. And just like that, we have our sushi. Lastly is my favorite jackfruit and green bean curry. This is what I love to make when I'm in a hurry and I just want something nice and warm and comforting. So into a preheated skillet, I'm just putting a tablespoon of grapeseed oil, and into that I'm adding in my half of a small onion, and I'm just mixing that around until it's nice and translucent. Now into the pan, I'm just adding my 3 cloves of garlic that are diced up, and I'm just mixing this together until it begins to brown a little bit. Then into that, I'm adding my jackfruit. Now I'm adding a little bit of oil so that things don't stick together. Now with this jackfruit, when I'm breaking things up, I'm not making them too small of pieces. I want to leave a little bit of chunks so that I can have a nice texture going in the curry. So I'm going to continue to mix this up till it becomes a little bit browned, and I'm just adding like a little bit of water so that things aren't getting too sticky. And into this, I'm adding a tablespoon of curry powder, some chili powder to taste, and some paprika. Now you can add as much or as little as you like. It all depends on what you prefer. I kind of like mine to be a little bit spice heavy, so I'm just adding a little bit of extra chili powder, mixing this around just a little bit more. Next, I'm going to be adding in 2 cups of my green beans, which I've chopped and I've washed. I'm going to stir this in and then add in some black pepper. And then into this, I'm going to be adding 1 cup of plant milk. You can do coconut, almond milk, or cashew. Just make sure none of it's like vanilla flavored. Make sure it's original and unsweetened. Then I'm going to cover this and let this sit for about 10 minutes. And then add in some Himalayan salt. Give it a good stir. I'm going to put the lid back on and let it rest for a couple more minutes. And then after about 5-6 minutes, I'm going to add in some chili paste, just to give it that extra kick. Stir that around. After a couple more minutes, I'm adding in my diced cherry tomatoes for that extra flavor, giving that a good stir one more time. And I've covered it up once more to let it steam. And when it's all finished, it should look just like this. The green beans should be fully cooked, jackfruit should be nice and soft. And I'm going to plate it onto a plate with brown rice in the middle. I usually don't eat this much, but for photography purposes, this is how I decided to plate it today. And then to this, I'm going to add some purple cabbage on the side. If you don't like cabbage, that's perfectly fine. I like the crunch personally. And I'm going to add some sliced lemon and onions, green onions to garnish. And there we have it, my friends. 3 different ways to use jackfruit in vegan, Asian style recipes. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I do have more videos coming your way. Feel free to follow me at alisa.plantbased on Instagram. You guys take care and have a good rest of your day.